Okay. Well, let's see what old Macintosh game we can play this time. No. I don't need another game with the word Maniac in it. No! Stop! What are you doing? No! Oh. This isn't so bad. I guess this is Maniac.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, Maniac, Maniac, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3.
So, Maniac is apparently what happens when you take the sports out of Maniac Sports. No, this was made in 1992, so apparently Amazing Media tried to add sports into Maniac, and we know how well that went. Maniac is a Pac-Man clone made by Alex Metcalf, a UK resident going under the name of his one-man software company, Best Before Yesterday. This appears to be the only game he ever made, as other software that I can find being HyperCard utilities or extensions, mostly involving sound. The latest, and really only version of Maniac I know of is Maniac 2.1, which was released in 1994. This is yet another game I hope my parents bought back then, because I don't know if the address is even still good anymore, and I know we got plenty of use out of it. Incidentally, 1994 is also when Maniac Sports is released. Strangely enough, this is also my first experience with the game known as Pac-Man, though once again, like with Maniac Sports, I vaguely remembered the game and mostly remembered the music. Another similarity is the music is probably the best part of this game. Unlike Maniac Sports, though, that's actually saying something, as the gameplay is nothing like Mondo Rock. And no gameplay should ever be like Mondo Rock. Now, are there problems with Maniac? Yes, there's some flaws, but at least there's an interesting game here. Maniac is a strange little title. You play as Pac, who basically just looks like Pac-Man if he stole Yahtzee's hat. It might just look like your normal Pac-Man game. You have a bunch of dots, some power pellets, some ghosts. We have Lorg, the slow one, Trig and Trog, who are apparently brothers, I guess you can see it in their eyes, and your worst enemy, Karn. No, Karn! Man, that Kirk's kind of a jerk, he seems to interrupt people's reviews a lot. But you have a time limit and a building power-up meter that gives, supposedly, better power-ups the more dots you eat. The goal of each level isn't even to collect all the dots, it's to solve a Hangman puzzle. Yep, this is probably the only Pac-Man-Hangman crossover I've ever seen. Pac-Hangman, or Hang-Pac-Man. No, that doesn't sound good at all. Never mind that. Besides, how would one hang Pac-Man? He has no neck. Anywho, your actual goal is to try to collect the bizarre color-shifting token that wanders randomly about the level. When you collect this, you go down to the bottom of the board, and you attempt to guess letters for a Hangman puzzle. The game, thankfully, uses only 12 letters. A, E, I, L, M, N, O, P, R, S, T, and U. According to the manual, the game has a 300-word library, and these words seem to range from 4 to 9 letters, from words like ultimatum to armor, remember this was made in the UK, to insane, which you may have to be to play this, to lime, to lemon, to... oh my goodness.
Ow. Well, okay then.
Oh darn, I was hoping. I was really hoping. When you complete a word and therefore a level in Maniac, it'll make sure you know it. Hallelujah. Yeah, this is the second game I've played that's had a Hallelujah chorus. Except in Double Morale it means you died and it's a bad thing, and in here it means you won and it's a good thing. Two games using the exact same thing for very different purposes. I think most of the sound effects in Maniac were stolen from other places, but heck if I know where for most of them. You got the laugh for when you die, different strange sound effects for when you use power-ups and when you guess letters. We've even got the Roadrunner's very distinctive sound for when you get an extra life. Why? Heck if I know why. Oh, and what sound do the ghosts make when you eat them? No, seriously, take a guess before I tell you. Okay, now let's ask Ed from Good Burger. Ed, what sounds do ghosts make?
Moo, moo.
Thank you, Ed. Oh, I'm not kidding, they moo. Why? I really don't know. Maybe Pac-Man was a farmer and the cows he turned into a delicious hamburger trying to get the revenge or something. Just like Pac-Man, the game keeps going on until you lose all of your lives. Though according to the What's New file, there weren't even lives until the very newest version. Imagine playing this game without any lives. The extra lives come at 100,000, 250,000, and 500,000 points. I've only ever gotten those first two. If you can manage to get 500,000 points, then damn, you're doing a hell of a lot better than I am. The latest version also has bonus stages after every 2 levels, which are the other way to get extra lives. In a bonus stage, you have a small amount of time to try to eat all 4 of the ghosts running around for massive points, and, if you get all 4, an extra life. All while going at breakneck speeds. Like any arcade game, Maniac tends to get harder as the levels go on. However, Maniac seems to do this really fast. The main things that change are the level layouts, which seem to give you more places to be trapped, the amount of time you have, and that damnable token going faster and faster. For the first 3 levels, you can catch up to the token just by following it around. From the 4th level onwards, it actually goes as fast as you do, which means you have to intercept it. When you get to level 6 or 7, you'll start running out of time before anything else, which resets the level and gives you a new word. On level 8, the token actually speeds up even more, and your time is so scant that pretty much the only way I ever died is by running out of time. The game gets hard. Really hard. The fact that your time still goes down while you're guessing letters doesn't help anything. I think we should have at least got a break there. It gets hard to catch that friggin' token as it is. Also, just the very nature of Hangman means you're going to be grasping at straws at the beginning of a word. The fact that you're working with less than half the alphabet does help quite a bit, but it's still frustrating when you've grabbed 4 tokens, guessed several more common letters or almost all of the vowels, and still have nothing, wasting a lot of your precious limited time. It'll drive you crazy! Regardless, this is an arcade game, you're going to die eventually, so just start up a new game and... what the hell?
It ain't there.
Well, things certainly got a lot faster. Actually, this Maniac on speed effect is a bizarre emulator issue. I've tested it on real hardware, and it doesn't do this when you start a second game. Hey, if you want a challenge, play multiple games of Maniac in one session while emulating. If not, just quit and relaunch it after each game, fixes it right up. Oh, there's also the power-up system. The left side of the screen shows your current power-up. The more dots you eat, the higher this goes, and it does carry over from level to level. Generally, the higher the power-up, the better, though that's not always the case. Each one is vaguely described in the help, but I'll give you an advantage and tell you just what exactly they do. The first power-up gives you points. A tiny amount of points, like what you get when you eat a few dots. This is totally useless. The second power-up gives you a rather short burst of speed. This can be useful for escaping ghosts or catching up to the token. It doesn't last for very long, though.
Thunderbirds are go!
The third power-up sends all the ghosts to the center of the board. This can be useful in a pinch, but it's a very temporary relief. The fourth power-up makes you temporarily invincible.
You can't hit what ain't there!
Another power-up that's useful in a pinch and probably more useful than the previous one. The fifth power-up regenerates all the dots on the board. I don't know why, this seems just about as useless as the first power-up. This should have been down near the bottom of the list of power-ups. Yeah, it gives you more dots to eat to charge your power-up, but you're probably almost done with the level by the time this would be useful, and you need to eat quite a few dots to make up for using this power-up, so what's the point? The power-ups from here on out tend to have longer term uses. All you'll hear when you use the sixth power-up is... You may think you wasted a power-up, but no, this actually gives you 2 wrong guesses per token grab for the rest of the level, which certainly cuts down on how often you have to grab that damn thing. The 7th power-up will freeze your time bar in place for a bit. This means it won't increase your time bonus, but it will still increase the amount of time you get for a level. Can be useful, but it takes a lot of dots to make it happen. The 8th power-up is not quite lightning speed as described by the help. What does it do? It actually slows all the ghosts down to a crawl, so I guess it's kinda like bullet time. It doesn't slow the token down, but still very useful. It lasts the entire level as far as I know. The 9th power-up confuses the ghosts, turning their AI from their normal behavior to going on a random path. I believe it also lasts the entire level. can be useful, but it can also be kind of dangerous since you can't predict any of the ghost behavior. The 10th and final power-up is your ultimate power-up. What does it do? I've actually seen it do a couple of things. The main thing I've seen it do is freeze the ghosts in place for the rest of the level. Yeah, that kind of makes things a little easier. Though I have also seen it turn all the ghosts into tokens as well. Either way, it tends to make the level a heck of a lot easier. Typically it does take at least a couple of levels to put the power-up bar all the way to the top though, but for what it does, probably worth the wait. Actually, trying out the last power-up a bit more, I've seen a couple of other bizarre effects. One time it turned all the ghosts into clones of Pac, all controlled with the same keys. In another, it actually inverted my controls. The 10th power-up is apparently completely random and crazy. Most of the time it's great, but it can really mess you up once in a while. So that's Maniac, which I would recommend checking out. It's interesting, it's only about 1.7 megabytes, and as long as you have a 68020 Mac or better in System 7 or later, should work just fine. May not be for everyone, but hey, it's worth a shot. If you're going to emulate it though, use the 142 build of Basilisk 2. It's the only thing that emulates the sound properly as far as I can tell. But I'd still recommend playing it on the actual hardware if at all possible. Now I'm going to start talking about the music files, which might be a little nerdy and technical. Or as the Mythbusters might say, warning, science content. Now, you may be tempted to put this music on a CD, play it in your car, and when people ask where you got the music from, you then reply with, Macintosh games, bitch! However, this may backfire with your nerdier friends who may point out this music in fact came from the Amiga. Though if you play it right, maybe you can start a conversation that way and it'll be the start of a nerdy little friendship. If you go and try and look at these music files in Windows, you may notice the files have the extension 8MED. This is for an Amiga music tracker format called Octamed. This choice may have something to do with Alex Metcalf's previous experience with audio mods for HyperCard and a program called Soundtrekker, which is why Frank Seid is credited in Maniac. And why do I get all these weird names? Now, an Amiga music tracker format may seem to be an odd choice for a Macintosh game, but it's the entire reason why all of this music can fit into the 1.7 megabytes this game takes up. For those unfamiliar with mod files or other music tracker files, these files don't store sound samples like is typical of audio files. They instead store individual notes and instruments in different channels, which is then played back to create the music written. So these files are tiny compared to a normal audio file. Even an MP3 of just one of these files would take up more room than the entire game. This being in an era where hard drive space and internet bandwidth are much more limited, this was a pretty smart choice. However, it sure made ripping the music to use in this review difficult, since there didn't seem to be a great Octamed player for Windows. I had to rip the audio with Soundtrekker into AIFF format and pull it out of the emulator with HFV Explorer. As for where the music came from, there's a link to a video in the description that describes where the music from Maniac is from much better than I could. But I know Crystal Hammer comes from an Amiga game of the same name, and Moonshine, a rather strange song choice for this game, comes from the game Moonshine Racers. Another interesting thing about Maniac is it supports custom music, as long as it's in Mod, Med, Octamed, or Octalizer format. Yeah, I don't have any music like that laying about, do you? Some of you people might, I don't know. The other thing that music tracker files allow more easily is on-the-fly adjustment of tempo and pitch that sounds natural, so it's really easy to make the beat pick up when you're running out of time without distorting the audio or having to change the pitch. Now, Amiga experts out there, please don't murder me if my description's a little inaccurate. I've never used an Amiga, I'm still learning about all of this. This is Tanara Kuranov signing off, and if you sat through all of that, I'm kinda surprised.